I'll call to order this meeting. Roll call, all of the members of the council are present. And the first item on the agenda is to discuss the council's interest to seek proposals for the appointment of city attorney. As you guys can see in the packet, this is just one of the talking points that I'd like to discuss with the council. Earlier in the year, we had been discussing on how we were going to move forward in 2021. The city attorney had informed us that it would be his last year, so we had set $45,000 aside to do a transition at the end of 2021. And in addition to that, just weird situations that have came up. The local judge, Jared Shermone, as I understand it, will not be able to hear city cases. So I know that can be jumbled around from the state and put in different judges and such. I guess I would like to hear from the city attorney his thoughts on how that would be handled and if that makes sense to do for us.
Well, Mr. Mayor and Council, I thought we talked about this a couple weeks ago at the last meeting, but yes, my brother Jared was sworn in as county attorney, as the district court judge yesterday, and actually today was his first day of training, and he was involved in discussions with the chief judge, Judge Yan, and other judges in the district, and he's not able to hear any of my cases, but they've already made arrangements for other judges to hear all of cases that I would be involved in. I don't see it having any adverse effect or delay in city cases whatsoever. So I think that's a non-issue. It's already been dealt with by court administration, and I see no impact to the city.
Okay. So with that being said, does anyone have any questions for the city attorney regarding this?
Question.
Please.
How many judges come up here, or how many judges preside in our court system here?
Well, the 9th Judicial District is huge. It goes all the way to Crookston, all the way down to Bemidji, Brainerd, Walker, Grand Rapids. I don't know the exact number. I'm guessing there's probably several dozen judges that are in the whole 9th District. And now we've been having visiting judges for the last 2 or 3 years on a regular basis because Judge LeDuc's been sick and off getting treatments, and those oftentimes are retired judges that come out of the Twin Cities, and so they can be from anywhere, and it hasn't been an issue. And now through the COVID, because of all the Zoom use we've had, and people have become accustomed, and the court system has determined that it's very effective, cost saving, time saving, and whereas before there were very few things that were not done in person, now, and I think going forward, we get these out-of-town judges and they're on Zoom in their office in Brainerd, and they don't have to drive up here and drive back, and primarily, what I expect is that there will be a nearby county that we're aligned with, where if they have conflicts, Jared would cover their cases, and when Jared has conflicts, they would cover our cases. It wouldn't be exclusively one county, but I would anticipate it would be, and that county has 3 judges, so it's coverage should not be a problem with cases. And just for instance, and just to give some information to the council, because I guess I was surprised to get the notice of this special meeting and the thought of seeking applications. I've been the county attorney for 10 and a half years. I was appointed in July of 2010, and I just went through. I had my legal assistant, Sue, put together some stuff for this year, but 78% in 2020, 78% of my time billed to the city was for criminal cases. And those are things that the council and can, city employees, other than police officers, have no contact with or not aware of. And so the vast majority of my time is on criminal cases. And since I've been hired, we started a numbering system, consecutive numbering system for files. In the 10 and a half years I've been the city attorney, we've opened 1,537 cases. So about 150 a year. Currently, we have over 250 open city criminal files that are either awaiting disposition in court, or many of them, probably about 2/3 of those, are cases that they've pled guilty, they've been sentenced, but they're still on some kind of probation or court-supervised release, so we have to periodically bring them back to court and review them or have them tested for compliance with treatment requirements, those types of things. And just for the upcoming, in the next 2 weeks, this Monday, I have 17 cases in district court, 17 city cases. On Tuesday, I have 11 city cases. The following Tuesday, on November 12th, I actually have 25 city cases in court. The day after that, I have another 6. And so we're already dealing, and these are all visiting judges that are coming here and doing this, and it's really no different than what we've been doing for several years. There has been, I know that there's been interest, and we just recently, this year, for the first time, have started criminal proceedings against some blight offenders. And I just, it'd be in your packet for Monday, you maybe haven't seen it yet, but Councilor Deitch and I met with Jared last week, and on Tuesday he gave me additional information, and so just this week we've commenced 13 new criminal cases against offenders, and those details will appear in your blight report for Monday. And so apparently at some point, I don't know, and it was originally my plan, I'm 71, I'll be 72 in July. It was my plan to retire at the end of 2021, and my wife and I were going to relocate to Grand Rapids because we have 2 sons that live there and 6 grandchildren. And we considered that quite strongly for a while, but here a couple of months ago determined that we didn't want to do that. This has been we moved here in 1976. We've lived here ever since. We got a lake cabin, we got a hunting shack, and we're just going to drive to Grand Rapids and visit with our grandkids. So we have no intention now of leaving. And I've got an excellent legal assistant, Sue Johnson, who's been with me for over 30 years. So I would pledge to the council that unless, God forbid, something terrible happens to me, I will be here for the next 2 years and am very much interested in the position. Somehow there must have been some confusion about that, because I got a call this morning from my son Mike at 7:30 and said, "Dad, have you changed your mind? You don't want to be city attorney anymore?" I said, "Well, what are you talking about?" He says, "Well, it's on the Daily Journal website that the current city attorney has no interest in continuing in the position." And I was shocked and went on my iPad and saw that that's what it said. So I tried to reach Laurel Beeger, because nobody had talked to me about that issue before putting something in the paper. And I couldn't reach her by phone, but I emailed her, and she emailed me back, and we exchanged things, and I think she had some misinformation, and so later this morning made a correction of that, and I think what's now posted says that I am interested in continuing to be the city attorney. And I've enjoyed the work. I think I've done an excellent job. Primarily, it's criminal work. I think law enforcement I spoke with the chief this morning. I don't think they have any complaints about my services. I work closely with the county attorney. I spoke with him on the phone this morning. Again, all of this came as a surprise, and I didn't know if there were people saying that I wasn't doing a good job. So if I'm not doing a good job, I want to correct that and do a better job. But both the county attorney and Chief Maston voiced support for me and said I'd been doing a good job, and I'd like to continue. I know the question came up at the last meeting about whether I had done any HR work, and I haven't done a lot. I'm certainly not an HR specialist. I've been involved with the Civil Service Commission and actually a city attorney in those cases that actually get to litigation with police or fire. Then my role is to advise the Civil Service Commission, and there's outside counsel that represents the city and prosecutes the case if there's an employee where they feel there's grounds for termination. So I don't, from a legal end, I think in the 10 and a half years I've been city attorney, I can only think of 2 cases that got that far. Most of them end up being handled internally or through some type of union grievance, and for the most part, I don't think there are that many HR issues involving a city that would require an attorney. But I'm certainly happy if the council wants me to, not only in HR but any other field that you want me to assist in. Up until this most recent contract, I've usually been involved in negotiating the contracts with the various different unions and groups, and I wasn't asked to do this that time, which is fine, and I think I understand the reasoning behind that was that it was uncomfortable for me and some police officers, because when I have cases, that they're my witnesses, so I need to have a good working relationship, and I think it was uncomfortable for both me and the officers negotiating that police contract, that we seem to be on opposite sides instead of together. So I absolutely understand why I wasn't asked to be involved in that. And I think whoever made that decision, it was a smart decision. But I've always, in the past, tried to give priority to city business. I mean, I do have a private practice. I'm an independent contractor. I would estimate that probably 1/2 of my time ends up being devoted to city things, and about half my time is private practice. However, that is actually shifting over the last 1.5 or 2. When I was previously anticipating a retirement at the end of 21, I've really turned away a lot of business, trying to cut down and not have a lot of cases that I would need to close when I retired. I've enjoyed the work. I think I've done an excellent job. I'd like to continue it. If you decide to seek applications, I will definitely be applying and interview or do whatever else is required. And I'm happy to answer questions if anybody has any questions.
Please.
This is more for the mayor. This is a 2-year contract coming up?
Yes.
Okay. And when does the contract expire for this year?
Today.
Today's the last day. Okay.
Today. And I think that's where all of this came, is because we've had this plan for a transition at the end of this year, and then at the I believe it was the Truth and Taxation meeting, we just had a quick blip from you saying that you were looking for a 2-year appointment. Well, we've spent considerable amount of time trying to figure out how we were going to do a transition at the end of 2021 and try to find someone that could be able to do a lot of our HR work in-house for our union grievances, for our HR issues. There's definitely issues that come up involving HR in the community. And when your HR committee for the city consists of 2 city councilors, we don't necessarily always have the best information to be able to deal with those grievances. And HR law is becoming deeper and deeper every single year. And I think that that's where the council's concerns is on making sure that we are providing a good work environment for our staff. I think that that's been the key for the city council on why we've been having those discussions.
And I guess just to respond to that, HR is a very specialized area and becoming more specialized. But if based upon what I know, I would estimate that if I were doing the HR work for the city, that it likely would end up being less than 10% of what I do. Again, with things being so specialized, my guess is, even now with a lot of issues that come up, I'm on the phone to the League of Minnesota Cities, and they assist and help with opinions and experts, and so like a general practitioner doctor, if something came to me in an HR that I didn't feel qualified to respond to, I would seek advice somewhere else. If it's through the League of Minnesota Cities, it doesn't cost anything. If it's not through them and we're dealing with some private firm, then they would bill us for that advice. As an attorney, similar to a doctor, you need to know what you don't know and have a small enough ego to acknowledge that and not try to advise in areas that you're really not competent to advise on. So, I'm happy to undertake HR, but if I did that, my guess is anything complicated, I'm going to be looking for help somewhere.
Okay. Any other questions for the city attorney? All right, so then the chair would ask for a motion to either appoint Steve Shermone as the city attorney or to go out for a request for applications for interested parties. If we do go out for applications, it would be my understanding that the city attorney would stay in his role until someone else would be duly appointed. So the chair would open up for either motion to reappoint the city attorney or to open up for applications.
I'll make a motion to continue with Mr. Chavon.
Okay, we have a motion to continue with the city attorney.
Second.
We have a second by Councilor Briggs. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
So then I guess my question is, if we do this, so then it would be a 2-year appointment. So then in 2 years we would be looking, but we do have in the budget money set aside for at the end of the year to hire somebody.
Mhm.
So does this mean that we're going to look to expand the city attorney's role and do some of this HR stuff? Mr. Shermone did indicate that his private practice is winding down. So that would mean that he would have more time. I'm just kind of paraphrasing, I think. But initially the information that we had was that you were seeking a 1-year appointment, and then we were going to hire somebody, and then that changed.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that I'm not comfortable with another 2-year appointment. It's just I kind of want to know what our end game is, or what that's going to look like.
It would be my assumption that the city attorney would be able to fill that role of HR, as he just indicated, that he'd be able to, it would be less than 10% of his practice. We can have those discussions and then reach out as needed through the league or other things. But
then a follow-up on that, and this isn't, but one of the things that we had done was we had a number. So are we looking to continue to do on an as-hour basis, like previous contracts, or are we looking to go with a lump? Because we do have a budgeted number to pay somebody that we were going to hire. So is that negotiable yet, or?
I would assume we would do the contract that we've had, that we negotiated last time there was a $5 raise, I believe it was.
Yeah, I'm currently getting $140 an hour, and then I also get $1,000 towards my office overhead, which is the best deal the city has, because my legal assistant, Sue Johnson, who's been with me for 30 years, we don't keep track of her time, but I would estimate, she and I talked about it today, we would estimate that she puts in as many or more hours than I do each month, and we don't bill for those. And she's tremendous. When she worked for me before at Shermone, Leduc, and Jackson, when I hired her, she informed me that she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom when she had her kids, and she ended up having 3 daughters. When the third one was born, she left, and we hired somebody to replace her after interviews and thought we had somebody good, and they couldn't do the work, so we hired a second person, and we had 2 new people couldn't do what she used to do on her own, and so basically the city's getting that, and I've discounted my normal billing rate for the last 25 years. It's been $200 an hour. I've discounted to the city. When I first started, I think it was $125, and now it's come up $5 3 times, I guess. And so, and I do. I've been for a number of years the attorney for the Airport Commission. I've been the attorney for KEDA. I do, the county has me do a lot of work that the county attorney and his assistant can't get done. And on all of those, I discount my rate. Most of them I discount to $150, just kind of as a community service. I mean, I love this community. I've been here since 1976, and I want it to be a great place to live, and I'm proud of it. And I think the city attorney is a reflection of the community and of the council, and I would hope that I'm a credit to the community and a credit to the council, and I'll always try to do my best. To address Councilor Krause's comment, I'm happy to, as much as the city wants to lay on me, I'll take it on. I mean, and if I have to work evenings or weekends or whatever, I've never not done something for the city because I didn't have enough time. Now, sometimes there's emergencies that come up. I've got a brief due to the Court of Appeals, or there's a trial or something, so sometimes I can't get to them as quickly as I would like and others would like, but I can assure you that the city position is my number 1 priority, and always has been and always will be.
Thank you.
And to speak to any of your HR concerns, my previous dealings on previous council and dealing with Steve, our last negotiations, other than what he spoke to earlier about police negotiations, he was a great asset for us during negotiations, and I know that you can handle a lot of HR concerns. You just have to rely on him. He can be a valuable resource when it comes to your HR concerns, because a lot of it gets into the law part of it anyway. And he has a good rapport with the League of Minnesota, knows who to get a hold of down there. So I can speak highly favorably that he would do a good job for you that way. So
Thank you.
I have to also say he does a lot for me personally. He's a good friend.
So he's got the shrimp and prime
He's
rib.
been a family lawyer to my whole family for.
Don't disqualify yourself from voting now.
All right, so
I'm not going to financially gain from it. So
I think we've had good discussion, and all of this is mainly to confirm that the council wanted to go in the same direction. I have been very concerned on the HR deal, and a lot of that has been discussed today. So I'm going to call the question.
Aye?
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries 5-0.
And one more thing, just to address, you talk about the budget that you had, and somebody told me it was like $45,000 or something. My thought would be, if you don't need that for some other areas in the budget, is maybe carry it over to 2022, and it would, again, I've told you today how many files I have and everything else, and it would certainly make sense. And there's an ordinance, it's not in the chart, but there's an ordinance that refers to a city attorney staff or department. And somebody could, and I discussed this with Ken, that it would make sense for maybe the last 3 months or so before I leave to have somebody come in at least on a part-time basis, if not full-time, so that you've got a smooth transition. Because, if all of a sudden we called somebody tonight and said, hey, you got 10 cases Monday and 11 cases Tuesday, I mean, they would be absolutely overwhelmed. So I think some transition makes a lot of sense.
Excellent. All right, so then that goes to...
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve, very much.
Thanks, Steve.
So then that goes to part 2 of the meeting, which is to discuss separation of a city employee.
Move to close.
I have to ask, Ken, you've had a chance to look at the agenda. Would you like to have this meeting closed due to section 13D.05 subsection 3A?
So on the agenda, the reference to discuss separation of city employee is me.
Yes.
And that's my option to be open or closed meeting.
Yes.
I'll opt to have it closed.
So Chair would entertain a motion to, due to Minnesota statute 13D.05 subsection 3 section A, close the meeting. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion by Councilor Kraus.
Second.
We have a second by Councilor Deitch. Call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. Motion carries. All right. We have come out of our closed meeting, and there was a unanimous vote of the City Council. The City Council and the Administrator will be moving forward, and we have discussed aspects of the job performance evaluation, and we will continue to have discussions for work to be accomplished and performed. It was a very long, lengthy conversation, and we have gotten through it. More information will come to follow in the future. There's nothing else on this agenda. This meeting is adjourned.